What is the child tax credit? That's the topic of today's video. Now, if you're watching this and you have children, you probably know a little bit about this child tax credit. And if you have a spouse and you both work, it's possible that you've accidentally not withheld enough tax on your W-2s and you've ended up owing, and it could have something to do with this child tax credit calculation. And in today's video, I want to dive into what the child tax credit is and how to avoid owing tax at the end of the year when you file your tax return. So the child tax credit is exactly what it sounds like. It's a credit for having dependent children who meet certain criteria. And this is a refundable credit that offsets your tax dollar for dollar. When you have a dependent child, they have to meet certain criteria, such as their age. So if they're under the age of 17, they're entitled to the full child tax credit. If they're under the age of 19, you're entitled to a partial child tax credit or a reduced child tax credit. And then if they're under the age of 24 but a full-time student, then you can also still claim a child tax credit for them. Another important qualifying test is the relationship test. So this needs to be your child. They need to meet the relationship test. We've included some more information about that in the link below. There's the support test. In order to claim a dependent, you need to be providing more than half their support. Typically, if this is a child of yours, whether they're in college, whether they're under the age of 17, then this is generally the case. But make sure that you're providing more than half their support. Another important test is the citizenship test. The dependent child needs to be a U.S. citizen, a U.S. resident, or a U.S. national. The residence test is a test that verifies that the child lived with you for at least half the year. There are a few exceptions to this rule, and we dive into that more in our additional info linked below. There can also be certain limitations based on your adjusted gross income, so that's another important thing to consider with these tax credits. Something we see often are married couples that fill out their W-4s with their employer and they both claim the children on the W-4, and it results in the employers both withholding a reduced amount of federal income tax. And then at the end of the year, the spouses, when they file their joint tax return, they may end up owing tax because both of their employers were essentially under withholding to make up for this child tax credit. So what's very important is that only one spouse claim the children when they fill out their W-4. So for example, if the husband fills out his W-4 at his job, he notates that he has 2 dependent children under the age of 17, then his employer is going to withhold at a lower rate to make up for this $4,000 worth of child tax credit that he is entitled to. So when the spouse fills out the W-4 at work, it's important not to claim the children because that's already taken into account on the husband's W-2. So then on the spouse's, we want to withhold at just a normal rate. And this will help to ensure that you're not under withholding as a married couple for the child tax credit. The last thing I'd like to speak on would be children that are in college. If you have a college-age student, they're under the age of 24 and a full-time student, you can still receive the child tax credit for them. Even if they live on campus, that's okay as long as you're providing more than half their support. If you're claiming more than half their support, you can still claim these children as dependents and receive a $500 child tax credit for them. If you found this video helpful, please give us a thumbs up, leave a comment, and subscribe to our channel. We appreciate you tuning in and hope you have a good day.